I dropped a couple of hints about making the Softail a hardtail. Well, that's exactly the crazy project I did, and I even gave it adjustable ride height, so let's check it out. How's it going, everybody? First off, a lot of you are asking why? Why in the world would I do something crazy and ridiculous like make the Softail a hardtail? If you've seen any of my videos, you know that I like to try different things, I like to experiment, and I'm not hesitant to make mistakes and cause a few fumbles along the way. It's part of the learning process for me. I got inspired when I was working on the lowering kit, installing the Kodlin piece, and as I looked at it, I thought, you know, it would be really interesting to create some sort of a strut to make this a hardtail, just for the heck of it. Now, my original idea was to use 1/2 inch spherical rod ends and some sort of a turnbuckle to create this strut. That probably would have worked just fine, but I was concerned about two things with 1/2 inch hardware. I really didn't want to deal with a bunch of misalignment spacers, and I didn't want that heim joint just kind of moving around that ball in the assembly. So I shelved that first approach and went back to searching for alternative solutions, and finally landed on this. And I immediately knew it was perfect for this particular application. A 4-link rod end. It's extremely heavy duty, 5/8 18 threads, almost exactly the perfect width out of the box, polyurethane bushings with the right size sleeves. Bam! I then tracked down a beefy 7/8 inch hex turnbuckle to tie it all together, and it was time to build this thing. I won't go into all the details of disassembling the shock, but if you want to see that, you can check out my previous video on the Kodlin lowering kit, and I'll put a link to that video here and in the video description. I started out with taking a measurement of the length of the current shock so that I have a baseline to start with as I built this new assembly. I checked the width of the upper shock mount. The bushings are a little bit wider than that upper shock mount, but the width of the rod end itself is almost perfect. So I hit the grinding wheel to remove the shoulders off of those bushings, and I thought at first I might be able to leave just a thin bit of that shoulder in there, but even that was too much, so I went ahead and removed it completely. Then did a quick check with a couple of those washers and confirmed that the width was right in the ballpark, close enough to use so that it wouldn't cause any problems at all. I did a quick dry fit at the swing arm lower shock mounting boss just to see how everything fit. And wouldn't you know that the width of that rod end with the bushings and a couple of those same washers was basically a perfect fit in that shock mounting boss. I greased up the bushings and sleeves and assembled both rod ends, put anti-seize on the threads, and assembled the strut. And I only used one jam nut for the strut because I figured that would be more than enough for this particular application. And I started out by setting the length pretty much equal to the shock that I had just taken out. And then it was time to install it. Everything fit together amazingly well. It was basically a perfect fit with those couple of modifications that I did. So I tightened everything down, set it down on the ground, and checked it out. I absolutely love the fact that I can adjust the ride height. And so just for the heck of it, I went through the full adjustment range just to see what I was dealing with. And you get like 4 inches of adjustment out of this thing. But you know I want it low, so that's where I'm going. Future Ron here. Don't forget to check your belt tension if you change the ride height. By the way, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Ron Chenal, and here on this channel I tackle projects of various sizes related to the bikes I ride, and I try to share all of my learnings with you along the way. So if that's the kind of content you want, please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and enable all notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's get this thing out for a test ride. Now, before this, I had never ridden a hardtail. I knew it was going to be different, but I really didn't know exactly what to expect. And man, oh man, is it different. It is super harsh, as you might expect. Even a road that looks smooth is not. cornering feels a little bit weird, but I really do love the fact that it's super responsive when you accelerate because there's just no give in the rear suspension to soak up that acceleration. But if you're used to riding a hardtail, none of this is news to you. So here's a complete parts list if you want to give this crazy project a try, and you're only looking at like 75 bucks or less to get all these parts, so it's pretty inexpensive if you want to mess around with it a little bit. And of course, there will be links to all these parts down in the video description. You need one 5/8 18 rod end with right hand threads, one 5/8 18 rod end with left hand threads, 5/8 18 jam nut with right hand threads, and or a 5/8 18 jam nut with left hand threads. You'll also need 4 fender washers. You'll need a 1 inch long by 3/4 inch OD by 1/2 inch ID sleeve, or you can just cut about 1/4 inch off of one of the sleeves that comes with the rod end, and a 5/8 18 turnbuckle. And I went with a 9-inch turnbuckle to basically mimic the stock ride height. So if you wanted to go even lower, you could go with an 8-inch turnbuckle. If you wanted to go higher, you could go with a 10-inch turnbuckle. But that 9-inch turnbuckle gets you right in the vicinity of the stock ride height, and you can go up or down from there. So what do I think after all of this? Well, I've got mixed emotions. I really like the ride height. I really like the responsiveness, but the cornering is the thing that I'm just not sure about. I think I could get used to the harshness of the ride, but even sweeping turns at speed feel a little bit squirrely, so that may be a deal breaker for me. I'm just not quite sure yet. And I have plans for changes to the rear of the bike, so that might factor into my final decision as well. Speaking of changes to the rear of the bike, have you ever thought about converting your bike to a chain instead of a belt? I've wanted to do that since the day I got my bike, and that's coming up. And I'm going to use a chain kit that you might not have heard of. I'm going to do a complete series on the chain kit conversion and all the different aspects of it. Make sure you've got notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of that content. Do you prefer a Softail or a hardtail? Have you ever ridden a hardtail? And would you ever consider a crazy project like this on your bike? Drop in a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback on this crazy project that I just did, and any thoughts or experience that you have riding hardtails. Also, let me know if there are other topics you want me to cover in the future. I really enjoy getting your input on these things, so don't hesitate to let me know. And don't forget, like I said, you can find links to all of the parts needed for this crazy project down in the video description. And if you found this video informational or useful, please do hit that thumbs up button and share it with your friends. That really means a lot to me. It helps the channel out and it shows YouTube that you care about this content. And if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell and enabling all notifications so you get notified every time I release a video. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the ride. I'll see you next time.